Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, won't you be so kind and leave a 5-star review? For example, here's a review, short and sweet, from Cami Z. Awesome podcast, one of my faves, and then 2 hearts. Thank you, Cami Z. I appreciate the reviews. Yeah, guys, get creative with them. Get weird with them. As long as they're 5 stars, I'm gonna read them. Wow, I'm wearing a little too much makeup today. I'm just switching it up. Speaking of switching it up, it's time to switch up your cigarettes. And by switch them up, I mean ditch them. Ditch your cigarettes, ditch your weird vape, ditch your dip, ditch that dip. Dipping is gross. Any woman will tell you if you're a dude who dips, it's such a turnoff. I don't care if you're a professional baseball player, it's gross. I'm here to talk about Lucy Nicotine. It's a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck. These products were researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. I haven't tried the cinnamon one yet, actually. Let's do it right now. Lucy also has a lozenge with 4 milligrams of nicotine. Get the ASMR going here. Lucy has a lozenge with 4 milligrams of nicotine in a cherry ice flavor. Each and every flavor actually tastes great. Ooh, cinnamon, hello. Tastes like Big Red. You can't taste nicotine. It doesn't taste like cigarettes. But if I did smoke, I would prefer these to cigarettes. It's convenient, it's discreet. These products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, or even in the gym. Guys, it's 2020. Thank God it's almost over, right? What a freaking year. It's about to be 2021. What we don't have control over much, but we do have control over our health and taking care of our bodies and investing in ourselves. And if you're looking to quit smoking or at least get a nicotine alternative that maybe seems a little bit cleaner, I highly recommend Lucy. Get rid of your cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out your dip, and get some Lucy nicotine gum or cigarettes. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each and every month. It's so simple, you don't have to leave your house because Lucy has delivery down. And for all my CMP listeners, go to lucy.co. Use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off all products, including gum or lozenges. That's lucy.co, lucy.co, lucy.co. Use the promo code CMP at checkout. Also, I have to give this disclaimer. Warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. You know what else is addictive? Saving money. Go to lucy.co. Use that promo code CMP. I'm going to take this out so I don't choke. Jesus. Guys, you know what also is going to be exciting? AdamandEve.com. The holidays are almost here. I am personally behind on my Christmas shopping. I, for sure, am going to go to AdamandEve.com and maybe buy my sister a new vibrator because I don't think she's getting. That's a whole other episode. I think I'm going to send her a new vibe. She sent me my very first vibe. I think I was 14 years old and it was white. It was crappy, but it was the thought that counts. Luckily, we're in 2020 and Adam and Eve has got tons of great toys. A lot of very chic, new looking vibrators that I'm very into. They have that kind of Swedish style look to them, kind of minimalist and smooth looking and like bright colors. So I'm going to definitely pick up one of those. Guys, they have tons of great toys on there. Get one for your sister, get one for your girlfriend, get one for your boyfriend, whatever, man. Mix it up. It's freaking, you know what? This is the perfect time to try a butt plug. You know what I mean? If you've gone your whole life and you haven't had anything in your butt, why the hell not? Just try it. Go to adamandeve.com. Get almost any item online for almost up to 50% off. There's a variety of discounts on there. And you're going to get free shipping. So it's a win-win. So check out adamandeve.com. Use that promo code CMP and save your money on your sex toys. I am so excited to have this girl on the podcast. I have known her for years. I have been friends with her for years. I have watched her. I mean, I knew this girl when we would bond over our mutual love for Adderall. We would meet up in the city and talk about it, how much it changed our lives. I've watched this girl just fucking explode over the past few years. Of course, you may know her as half of the comedy duo Sorry About Last Night. She is one of the co-hosts of Guys We Fucked, which you can hear on Luminary. But that's not where it ends. My God, she does so much. She has a second podcast out now called The Voices in Our Head. It's just her. It's a lot of riffing about mental health. She was producing a show called Glamour Puss at the Zinc Bar. She has a killer short film out right now called Dwell, and so much more that we'll get into. Krystyna Hutchinson, how are you?
Hi. Oh, I love that intro. Thanks.
Yes, I prepared.
Thanks for giving a shit about my credits.
I give so much of a shit about your credits because it's been so exciting to see you like grow and build over the years. And
Thanks, Chrissy.
I love your spirit. I think you're just like, you're a goofball. You're full of joy. You just like, you're corny. You just want to, and you don't like compromise your sense of humor for anything. Like you're always you. I just feel like you're such a light, and
Thanks.
it's been cool to like observe it all.
That's
years.
so nice. That's
nice. And I love where you're podcasting from, because I know that because this is in your apartment. It's like a little tiny, it's a little tiny room. I have too much eyebrow pencil on. What the fuck was I thinking?
No, I think your makeup looks great.
Really?
I have no makeup on.
I usually do none, or I'll usually just do mascara and then deodorant. But I was like, you know what? But now that I have more on, I think I look funny.
So. I think it looks great, but
thank you.
What matters is how you feel about it. Of course. And I know that.
It's such a change because I was so used to for years every day just putting on my war paint, whether I was going to have a day in the city and then spots, or just right before going on stage, like boom, a red lipstick, a dark cat eye, 10 pounds of mascara. The uniform. And now it's just like, you're home. What's the point? How have you been doing overall? And I have a feeling that your new podcast is sort of a way for you to cope over the last, 8-9 months of lockdown. But
I've had I gotta say, and I don't even feel bad saying it, because I know that it's people have a very bad time during this. I've had a great fucking time.
Good.
I've grown a lot. It's not been easy, of course, but I like stood up to my parents for the first time in my life.
Yes, I wanted to hear about
this. The most extreme way, which is like the one thing that no one ever thought I would ever do. Like people who know me really, really, really well are like, oh, whoa. I got a puppy. I'm working on. I'm using this. I have the momentum to like. I'm like, I want to do a lot of shit. I want to get a lot of stuff done. So I came out with a big merch line. I'm writing the second short film, and I'm working on this. I'm just doing a lot of stuff that I really enjoy. And I love being alone. I live by myself. I'm single. I went on one date over the quarantine. It's so funny because I co-host this podcast, Guys We Fucked, and I used to be like fucking all the guys, but
enough to make a whole podcast about.
Yeah. But I haven't had sex in 9 months. I've gone out.
Wow.
Well, because I haven't even dated. I went on one date with a very handsome man who was wonderful, but I went on the date with him, and because it was in the middle of obviously quarantine, we're still in it. It was in the summer, and there was no restaurants weren't doing indoor dining yet, and I had to pee, and I had to pee in the street, and he like was guarding the corner, and then I farted, and I'm pretty sure he heard it, and I was like, yeah, all right, this is over. I don't want to be dating anyway. He was really sweet, but like that was the only like semblance of possibly dipping my toe into that, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that right now. It's such a bizarre, unique time for everybody, but for me in that way, it's very unique.
I wonder if you are going through what I went through. And I was also a person who was having so much sex, so much random sex. Like I used it as a drug.
Had a rotation.
Yeah. Oh, I had a Google Calendar going. The summer of 2014 is especially memorable.
That was a slutty summer.
It was a
slutty summer for you too.
I had something like 20 people in a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What were you filling a void? An
Of
emotional void?
course. Of
Yeah.
course. And
That
it
sex
was,
always like it's hit or miss, but when it's hit, ooh, it's good.
but I was now looking back, I go, oh, that was my number one hobby. I was not committed to
Having
a
sex.
career. I was not trying to like do more stand up. I wasn't trying to write more or get better or anything. It just was a literal drug. I was like, you get the validation, you leave in the morning or that night, and then the next day you're like, who's up next? Because then
Yeah.
I would get a dip, and I think I was now looking back, I was like, oh, I was looking to fill the holes and
Mhm.
validate through externally rather than, other people. Oh, but it's so
Rather
great.
than
Who,
look inside, but also
yeah.
how old were you? How old were you during this
Oh
time?
gosh. That was 6 years ago. So I was 30, 31.
Okay, I was gonna say I thought you were gonna tell me you were 25. Never mind.
Oh no. And then, I mean, like,
Like our brains aren't fully developed until we're 26.
whenever I was like, sexual peak, bring it. And I mean,
Uh,
I've definitely had very slutty periods of time
well,
as well,
sometimes it's
but
just like it ebbs and flows. You're really horny. Like a person, this their horniness ebbs and flows. And like for some reason, for most of this quarantine, I've not had a desire to have sex, which honestly I was like, is my vagina
yeah.
depressed? What's going on?
Yeah, me
But
too.
I
Less
just
so. Yeah.
it's simply that I kind of just want to do this right now. Like it's very unique because usually I'm always got a rotation of like 5 people that I really have a crush on and trust and like have been known for a while. And oh, that was the best.
And it's
But
exciting. There's nothing better than
yes, it's a
people telling you
thrill.
you're hot. To me, oh,
You feel
there's
sexy. You
nothing
feel like a
better
goddess, like a
than
fucking
being,
woman.
yeah, desired. You're like, yes,
It's the
because like
best.
my default setting is you suck, you're fat, you're ugly, you're not good enough in all these ways. And then
So funny
you
because
have
you're so hot.
thank you.
It's
You-
so ironic that like some of the hottest folks don't see it because like I said earlier, it doesn't matter how I feel about you. It matters how you feel about you.
Oh, thanks,
And that's what
Christina.
I've been learning during quarantine.
During quarantine, I've gotten better. I'm like less obsessing over people who I think look better than me on Instagram because it's like whatever, it's
Just tiring. It's just
yeah,
there's
it's
more to do.
exhausting. I'd rather be doing shit and it's like, okay. And then like I
Yeah.
don't want to be like my mom who was trying to lose the last 10 pounds for her whole
Uh
life. Her whole
well,
life.
there's where you learned some of the stuff then. Yeah.
Yeah. And
'Cause there's roots to it.
I look back to like my skinniest period. It was like obviously post toxic relationship. I remember because that may have been when I did your guys podcast, guys we fucked, maybe in the second year. It was
Oh,
early.
so it's like peak. It was like, woo,
It might
here
have
we
been
go.
2015.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was like the skinniest. I was like 124 pounds, like right after I left this toxic ass relationship. And I thought, I'm looking great. People were
Yeah.
telling me, you look too thin. You look like something's wrong. And I'd be like,
And you're like,
yes.
yes, that's what I want to hear.
I look back and I was like, oh, stick person. And like
Yeah.
I look at my eyes and I'm like, I was not happy.
Nothing there. Yeah, not much behind it.
So it's good that like that you're having this period of like, yeah, let me really because to be clear on your goals and clear on what you want, like there's so much
Oh,
power in that.
yes. And you can make it, that's how you make stuff happen. But
I,
I feel very like I almost go to a point where God, being by myself, I guess I've never done it this long. Like I've never not even had a crush on somebody. And so it's really I'm like the fittest I've ever been in my whole life.
ooh,
I've got like I'm figuring out all these like stuff for my skin. Like I've always wanted to figure out to have like really beautiful skin.
yes.
And because
What
I
are
never
you
had
just?
it.
Yes, I am all
I
about
tried
this shit.
micro needling.
Is that where
Highly.
the blood comes out? No, no, that's like
That's
a
the vampire facial, which
okay.
involves microneedling. Microneedling, they put numbing cream on your face for 45 minutes. And then they take this device, which is a bunch of tiny little needles, and they punch you in the face with needles. And it like your skin's a little sandpapery for a couple days. And then it's really pretty. It's like really smooth. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like I'm drinking a lot of water. Like I'm looking
Ooh,
and feeling hot.
that's
And then
important.
I'm doing a lot of projects that I really am proud of. And so that's my crack, man.
Yeah, when your
Thank heaven.
self-care is on point, like that is such a high. When you wake up and you're like, "Oh,
And
I'm
it's
not."
balanced. It's
Yeah.
balanced between work and play. You have to work and play. Thank God I live like I turned my apartment into like a fucking, theater set. So
Yeah, like
it's very fun to be
I
in.
love your apartment, Christina. I haven't been over in a while on Forts, but like you've got like a loft. I
Yeah.
can't even describe it. There's like it's in
It's a
New York
storage
City,
loft.
and
Yeah.
it's like you can go. Oh, is that
This is
Kevin?
Kevin. Hi,
Hi,
Kevin.
baby.
Hi.
Kevin, do you want to say something? Do you want to do a
He's
bark
very
cast?
quiet. Yeah,
Oh,
he just wants to be on my shoulders like a little monkey.
like a cat.
Yeah.
You have a very cool apartment, and you have kooky things in it. Like the only I can maybe sort of compare it to like a TGI Fridays, but like not corny. With
Like an
you have
anthropology
you have
TGI Fridays.
yes, you have so
Yeah.
much flair on the walls.
A
Like when
West
you're
Elm.
in this room you're in alone, tons of flair, but it's like very
Mhm.
you and very artsy. It's like if it's like a kid, like
Like a kid at a bank account.
you're
That's how I
very
describe
in touch with
myself.
your inner child, which is so fucking important. You have to put up your own drawings, put up your own art. Like I'm just now starting to do that a little bit more. It's hard because I lived in a house where like I couldn't put any holes in the wall in my room. My dad would throw a
Oh.
shit fit. My parents weren't
Oh.
hanging up my
So
shit
there was
anyway.
that
Yeah.
creativity, that door to that type of creativity was closed all the
Yep.
whole time.
If you spill something, you're gonna get
Really?
ripped apart. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my
No, can't get
gosh.
stains on
Bummer.
the carpet. Well, my dad's
Yeah,
German, so yeah.
my mom was like that. She had OCD and bipolar. She's, she has a bunch of stuff that catch her on the wrong day. And my dad, honestly, both my parents. Parents were mean, man.
How I want to know how, because I just over Thanksgiving kind of told my dad off because I don't know if this was your family issue, but I want to hear about how you stood up to your parents. Like my family issue is nobody would ever talk directly to that person. You would talk to somebody about another person. Like my mom would talk to me about my sister. My dad would talk to me about my brother or my sister usually. And like you
Mm,
never, I guess nobody had the confidence, or I think it came out of wanting
that's
to
confident, yeah.
avoid conflict. You're like, oh, let me talk, but it's just everybody's talking behind each other's back, which is like not good. You really should practice like directly talking to who you want to talk to. And then so
Yeah.
finally I let my dad have it because um there was just basically I found out this family secret
Mhm.
that my sister's husband, who has so many red flags, this
Oh.
friend of his who is like a gambler, like he's a gambler,
Uh-oh.
they live in Vegas. This could be its own podcast, but basically, like my family's in a fucking three-way lawsuit between my dad. My dad is
How'd
involved,
your fucking
my
dad get involved?
sister, and my sister's husband. So they had been keeping that from me since January, and it finally kind of came out. And my dad was like, basically trying to use me to get information from my sister. He'd be like,
Without
can you
telling you what the fuck was going on.
without
Oh my
completely leveling
god.
with me. And I get it
You're
if you
not
think
an agent. This is your
yep.
family.
Yeah, and I get like you don't think it's my business, it's financial, sure, but like if you're gonna bring me in an inch, you have to level with me completely, tell me everything you know. And I finally let him have it. I'm like, look, Dad, I'm done with this getting information about other family members. If you have to start treating family members with respect. This was like I took a
And
big
when you've been
therapy.
holding it in the
Yeah.
whole time and not saying anything, so you've noticed that this is the dynamic, and then you realize, oh, that's not normal. And then you grow up older and older and you realize, oh, there are actually healthy examples of this. So it's not like we were doomed to only communicate like this. And then you finally stick up for yourself and you're like, fuck
Scary.
you.
It feels like jumping off a cliff because you're like, oh, what we normally do is we just separate for hours and then everything's okay because I just shove everything
But
down
that
and I
doesn't
never,
actually cure anything, help anything.
no,
Oh
it
my God.
gives you
Yeah.
disease. It makes you sick. So,
God. Yeah, so my mom, there's been a lot of times in my life where something really big has happened. Like I graduated high school, moved away to college for the first time, or moved to New York for the first time, or lost my virginity. All of these like moments in my life that were supposed to be. Now I'm realizing like those moments were supposed to be nice.
hmm.
um, those are supposed to be a nice moment in somebody's life that they could treasure. Um, my mom has a fear. I think deep down, I don't think she understands that this is what it is. It's like a fear of abandonment, and she'll take it out on me that she's scared that
Wow.
something's going to happen to me, but she'll tell me it, and then she'll do drastic things and kind of, fuck up a moment, like the ones I just listed. So, she was, and the other thing is too, I fed into that like the biggest accomplice unknowingly. Like when your mom is depressed, when your parent is depression, I feel like, especially from when you were a baby, you learn to try to make your mom happy. It's like a mechanism that happens in a kid's brain, because kids' brains are very interesting, like brilliantly designed, or whatever you want to call it. Where the kid will realize this person is responsible for my happiness, food, shelter, clothing, all that stuff. So you're basically, you start catering to your parent
Yep.
so that the parent will take better care of you.
So you can get your needs met, so you can
Right.
survive. Yeah.
But as a 5-year-old, you're not going, all right, so if I make mommy happy, she's gonna make me a sandwich. You don't
This
think
was
that.
my exact shit
This
with
shit
my
sneaks
mom.
up on you. And then
Mhm.
you're dating some piece of shit guy, and everyone's like, we hate him. And you're like, well, I don't hate him. And then you're like, why don't I hate him? Because I'm with him. And it's like, ah. So yeah. So speaking of family secrets, I found out a big one last summer when because my mom was adopted.
Was that the secret?
Nope, I already
Oh.
knew that part. I did a 23andMe kit, and so I wanted to find out what. I didn't know much. I knew her biological sister was alive, who I talked to, but her other siblings were either dead or in jail, and her biological mother, there was so much trauma in the beginning of my mom's life. Her biological mother tried to kill my mom and the kids when they were infants.
Oh my God.
Because the state was trying to take them away. She was schizophrenic. She had a lot of mental stuff. That's all we knew about.
This is your
though.
mom's sister.
My mom's biological mom.
Your mom.
Tried to kill
Okay,
her.
your
Yeah.
mom's.
So,
Oh,
my
damn.
mom was adopted when she was 3 by this couple that was just lovely and, lovely. Not
Yeah.
that. So I got a 23andMe kit because I was like, oh, my brother, my brother always told me, he's 8 years older than me. He's like, you don't look like anybody in this family. And I was like, I really don't. And he always used to tell me I was the mailman's kid. And I was like, fuck you, DJ. But I have like a curly, curly, big puffy hair like my mom.
Amazing curly hair.
Thank you very
That
much.
you finally learned how to bring out the curl. I mean, that's every woman's life. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody
Like, what? I don't just brush them out. That's so me though. Like, it's diffuser, it's product.
Yeah. It's all these things. So yeah, I did the 23andMe, and I found out that I was Ashkenazi Jewish. So I was like, oh my God, Mom, we're Jewish. Cause my dad had, he knew his parents. So, and my paternal grandparents, I knew that they were German and English. So I was like, oh shit, we're Jewish. And my mom was like, oh, cool. And I was like, okay. And then, I think it was last summer. I got a message from 23andMe, because you can opt in to have a DNA relative contact you if they're on the, if somebody who has some of your genes joins 23andMe. And two women messaged me saying that they were my half sister. And I was like,
this is after you submitted your test.
Yeah.
Okay. Because then it opens you up to being contacted.
So like months later, it's these two chicks said, one was from New York, and she said, oh, I was raised by him. If you have any questions, let me know. And I was like, huh? And then the other girl was like, oh, I'm a sperm donor baby too. Are you? And I was like, huh? And I was like, maybe my dad has an uncle. I was like, maybe he donated sperm because I'm genetically related to him. So it's got to be something like that. I don't know, because I thought maybe it was one of my mom's siblings' kids, because I might have a cousin out there and I don't know. Like, that's one of the reasons why I got the kit. And so I called my mom and I was like, Dad's my dad, right? Like, dad's my biological father. And then my mom goes, uh-oh. And I was
God, did she know you were taking the test? Did she know you're doing 23andMe?
She knew, and she was weird about it, but I didn't know why.
She's like,
I thought this was a joke. I was posting this screenshots on Instagram stories. I have video of me calling her because I thought it was a fucking joke. Because I was like, oh man, I'm about to find out my dad's not my real dad, and this isn't my family. And I thought it was hilarious. So I took my iPad out and I videotaped me calling my mom, because I thought it was gonna be like a funny bit. Mm-hmm. And then she tells me that they had to get a sperm donor. My dad's not my biological father. And I was like, oh, didn't expect that answer. Okay, sick. All right, I gotta go. Okay, we'll talk to you later.
What did you feel in that moment?
Just honestly, nothing but shock. It wasn't good or bad. It was fine. Who cares? Like, it's fine. It's not like somebody had an affair and I'm the product of cheating, or like they wanted me extra. Mm-hmm. More than I realized. Like, they went through lengths to conceive me. They paid, or their insurance paid for a sperm donor and they looked at application. I mean, they really wanted me to be on the planet, and I didn't give a shit. But I was like, they didn't want me to talk about it, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, first of
Good
all,
luck with that.
yeah, it's naive of them to think that I wouldn't. And I don't talk about it out of disrespect for them. It's just what the fuck. I learned that a year ago. What the fuck. And now I have siblings, and I called my brother up and I was like, hey, remember when he told me I was the mailman's baby all those years?
You
And
were
he's like,
right.
yeah. And I was like, sit down. And I told him, and he was like, holy fucking shit. Cause he was like, you don't look like us.
Wow. Wait, is it just your
He was
brother?
like, I knew it.
How many other siblings do you have?
Just my brother. Just me and my
Okay.
brother. And my brother looks like my mom and my dad. I
Ugh.
kind of look like my mom, I guess, but I don't look like the biological father either. I looked up his picture. One of the half siblings that messaged me on 23andMe, she actually has red hair. She has hair your color, and she has green eyes. And I'm the only one in my family that I know with green eyes.
Whoa.
She's a comedic singer-songwriter. And then the other girl, who's a half sister, I have a ton of half siblings.
Wow.
Could do a
So
whole
from
bit
this
about it.
donor, the donor guy, that's his
Yeah.
jizz. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
No.
Oh.
He's not. But the daughter he raised is, and I met her at RuPaul's Drag Con.
Of
And
course.
her and her wife and her son. And
That is wild.
I met her, and then I like went outside and cried. Because I was like, this is just weird. It's so weird.
You're like,
'Cause
this
I
is my
felt-
life. Yeah.
I didn't know if I was making it up, but it felt like she had the same smirk as me. Like I kind of have sometimes I have a resting smirk, and I feel like she has that. I don't know. I've never looked like anybody in my family before, so it was weird to like see somebody that I'm genetically related to.
You probably felt a little bit of a connection, you know?
Yeah.
Or especially if you're seeing your faces in them.
Yeah. It's just wild. So but that wasn't the mommy issue stuff.
Okay, so
that's the sperm donor
that's
stuff.
number one.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's cool though.
Yeah, it is cool. It's not, it's only fine. Like it's great. It's like a weird little quirk.
Was she ever gonna tell you?
No. But here's the thing though. I felt bad for her because my dad only agreed to it on the basis that I would never know, because he didn't want me to look at him differently and not love him. And I was like, oh my God, Dad, I love you so much.
Oh.
In an ironic, it's like, that makes me love you more. I told him that. And he was like, okay. Well, he's not very feelingsy. So yeah.
You're like,
But
I
then
love you, Dad. I don't care if there's something wrong with your cum.
Well, he had testicular cancer. So I was like, also, who gives a shit? Like my
Yeah, who
mom,
gives a shit?
always knew my mom was adopted. And I'm like, family has always been not blood related to me. I always understood that. So it's not.
Yeah, that's good.
If anything, it makes me feel more special. So I'm like,
you are more special. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny finding out when you're 31. You're like, what the fuck?
That is what the fuck. It's like, that's what's exciting about life. It's like, you just don't know what's coming.
Don't know. You really don't
think
know.
you know.
No idea. Zero idea. Yeah.
So what happened with Mom?
She was basically crossing. I've never set a healthy boundary with her or anybody for that matter, but especially her, to the point where Corinne would come, my comedy partner, I know you know her, will comment and be like, when your mom calls, your demeanor changes. You drop what you're doing and you leave the room. And I was like,
oh my
I didn't know I did that. And I was like,
dude, you're exactly explaining what would happen to me when I would talk to my mom or when I would talk to my sister. I'm like a little better now, but like
I was at their fucking beck and call.
Me too. Dropped. I would be like, I have to take care of them emotionally. I have to fix them. I have to be the one that perks them up.
So you're speaking my language. So I set a boundary for the first time, and my mom freaked the fuck out, acted like I was betraying her. And I have had problems in the past with instances that truly traumatized me in the deepest sense of the word, like with dealing with her depression and its effects on me, and never even realizing that no one ever asked me how I felt as a kid. No one ever was like,
dude,
are
me
you
too.
Okay? No
me
one
too.
ever asked if I was okay.
Me
and
too.
not even so, you grow up like that. You don't think that's a thing that
you don't
matters.
Think your feelings
so
matter ever.
You don't check in on yourself because no one else checks in on you. You're a fucking child. How the hell are you supposed to know? Am I okay today? You don't fucking have the wherewithal to do that. That's the parent's job. So I never got that. So I never paid attention to how I felt with anything. So now for the first
Wow.
time in my very early 30s, I'm going, oh, this is how I feel. Oh, this is what it's like to pay attention to how I feel. And then I go, I'm not, I would stand up to myself with her. Like, I'm not, the second she would say, come down and see us, I'd be like, okay, I'll get on a car today. Like, I will run. Why? I mean, I know why now,
Wow, I
but
did the same thing
it was a
because
magnetic
because
force that I didn't think could
guilt,
go away.
and you're like, oh, you have
Guilt and
to.
shame.
She's your
Yeah.
mom. Guilt and
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah. And,
Did they live close by to you?
well, I actually invested and bought, we started an LLC. So that I bought half their I own half their house. They have a beach house on the Jersey Shore where they live permanently because they were gonna, retire, get a smaller place, and they were gonna move to Florida because that was within their budget. And I was like, don't go to fucking Florida. No one lives there. Like,
Oh.
just like you're so far away. Like my brother has a kid, so they have a
Mhm.
grandchild, and it's like, hang out with us. What the fuck? So I bought
Yeah.
half their house, and I own half their, like, as an asset, so that they could stay here,
Did you
stay
decorate
close.
just one half like really kooky, like in your
I
personality?
did. Well, then my mom was like, all right, you get one room, like decorate it, pick whatever room you want, you decorate it however you want. It was very fun. My mom and I do bond over interior design. We both have very good taste in it. Like, we just have a weird eclectic, like,
Mhm.
similar ways. But yeah, so I set a boundary of like, I don't want to talk to you guys right now. Like, every time they would call, I would pick up and go, oh my God, is everything okay?
Yes. Oh
And
my
sometimes
God.
they would even be like, Christina, I'm fine. Calm down. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's fine. But the second I'm like, yeah, I can't talk right now. I'm busy. Well, why?
What?
What are you doing? What are you? And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, 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 no. Because when you finally lay a boundary down and then the person acts, I wish I had a heads up that when you lay boundaries down for the first time with people, it's likely that they will act like you're fucking them over,
Yes.
even though it's such an act to me at the time. It was such an act of bravery to do something for my fucking self for the first time.
Oh
And
yeah, like you're like making a big deal of it. Like you're
yeah,
overreacting. Like this is my cycle too. Like
yeah,
you standing up for yourself at all is you making a fuss and like
yeah. That's so hurtful. Like,
it
fuck
sucks.
you.
It
But I
sucks.
also, over quarantine, I stopped talking to my former best friend of 15 years. We stopped talking because that relationship was similar. That relationship
Wow.
was very similarly toxic. And I was like, oh, this is too far gone. We got into a fight and she was being, I'm sure there's another side of the story that I'm not keen to, but she was being so fucking mean to me. And I was like, wait a second. I don't gotta take this. You're not nice to me. I don't think you like me. And I blocked her because she was like screaming at me for something I didn't. She wouldn't even tell me why she was mad at me. She was just yelling at me, and I was like, "Oh, I could block you." And I blocked her phone number, and I've not talked to her since March. It's
Whoa.
been amazing because of course I miss her so much because friendships to me are like friendship breakups are harder than romantic.
Oh my
But
God. I feel that so much. I still think about like
they're
friendship
rough,
breakups
man.
over the years and I'm like, what did I do? And it's like
Because yeah,
the thing
yeah,
was I did it is that I just grew. I just like became
yeah.
more of who I was and that was not compatible with where they were going. So
Yeah, and that's a heartbreaking. Oh, it's so heartbreaking because
yeah.
that was a heartache I had to deal with over the quarantine is losing
What was
her.
like the last was there like a last fight or was it just you just
I
realizing
I knew she was mad at me because I had a feeling. I was like, I feel like she's upset with me, and I was thinking about what it could possibly be, and I listed it out, and I was like, but none of this stuff is warranting her being that upset. I don't get it. And then
mm,
I texted her and I said, I feel like you're upset with me, but I could, I was learning how to communicate top of quarantine. I'm like light years better now, but I'm like, I feel like you're upset with me. It could just be me. So if it is, then disregard. But if you are and you want to talk about it, I'm here. And she like responded, ha, 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 ha. Interesting that you thought I was upset this whole time and you're just now set. And I was like, whoa, you're a bitch
whoa. So now she's punishing you for not,
for not asking her sooner. I'm like,
sooner.
I'm sorry.
Guess what?
But
She could tell you that she was upset this whole fucking time.
exactly. Exactly. And I was like, "Oh, wait, I never want to be treated like this by another human being again." So I blocked her, ended everything with her. And then my parents, I was like, "I can't talk, guys, I'm busy, but you're always so busy. You're always." And then my mom started texting me saying to me that I was fake happy, that I was addicted to drugs. I'm like, "What drugs?" And
What?
that I hope I find real happiness one day. And I was like, "Huh?" And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Fuck you. I didn't say fuck you because I would never talk to my parents that way. But I was like, how about you ask me how I feel instead of telling me how I feel? And then she was like, I'm going to
Yes.
come down there. I'm very concerned for you. I'm going to drive up to New York. And I was like, no, you're not. I'm having the time of my goddamn life. This is the best 8 months of my life, gotta be honest.
Yeah.
And then she was like, she's convinced. And then I thought she was going to show up to New York on a Monday when Corinne and I were recording. And Corinne was like,
Ugh.
well, that's very your mom. And I was like, yeah, that is, isn't it? Huh? And then she didn't. And then a week later, I woke up at 9 a.m. to missed calls and texts. Your mom's at the diner across the street. You need to go talk to her. I'm like, oh, the
Oh,
fuck I do, motherfuckers. And
that sucks.
I blocked both my mom and dad's phone number. My mom, there was a point where my mom was buzzing on my apartment door. I live on the first floor. I could see her at the front door of my building. She was standing out in the rain, shaking. So I
Oh
was feeling fucking
no.
bad for her.
That's
And I was
so bad.
angry because I don't hate my parents. Like I love them, but like, you're not treating me like that anymore, boo-boos. And I blocked them and have not talked to them since. And now that one
How long ago was that?
That was 4 months ago. That
Okay.
was 3 or 4. That is an unprecedented move on my part. But I want to write them a letter because I want them to know, like this is not the termination of the relationship by any means. I love you and I miss you, but I need time. So you're gonna have to deal.
It sounds like what's happening is like in childhood, similar patterning to mine. Somehow you got to be, and that's what it is like you become the parent, you become responsible for taking care of their feelings. And it's just like, the bear in the zoo that pushes on a button and it's used to getting a treat. And it's like the bear is pushing on the button, but the treats aren't coming out anymore. And then it's like, what's wrong with this machine? This machine isn't happy. This machine.
And the machine is your child.
And the machine is you.
Well, my therapist said, because I work with a trauma therapist, like she specializes in psychological, like childhood trauma stuff. And she said, you regulated your mother's nervous system your whole life. You were responsible unknowingly for regulating her nervous system. So when you pull away, she feels betrayed on the deepest level. And I was like, well, that is a hell I don't want to be a part of no more. That fucking sucks.
How do you gently
you don't
eject from that?
And I gently ejected. I didn't even eject. I gently put the fence up. And I go, we're not going to do this anymore.
You regulated your mother's nervous system. At one point, my mom died 2.5 years ago, but I remember at her, God, there's so much shit around that too, especially with my dad.
Oh,
I remember I had like one of her best friends said to me, her name's Irene. She said, your mom, Dory, she said that like you were her soulmate, which at first like it is touching. But on the other hand, when I think of it in terms of
regulated her nervous system,
I made her feel good all the time without fail. And it's everything happens for a reason. I feel like it fostered my sense of humor and put me in a position to get to where I am now. I genuinely do love making people happy and perking them up, especially.
That's how you get a comedian. I mean, that's one of the recipes.
Yeah. And a mean dad. So she's real slutty. But
1-2 punch. Good for you, girl.
City. It sucks. It's your mom. You love her so much. But then on the other hand, you're like, oh man, but like you want to be the kid. You don't want to also be the parent, and you don't want to, it's not the kid's job to make the parent feel good all the time. But when you're a kid and you're like, oh, I'm good at something and it's working, and
you get confidence in that, and that's a slippery slope.
This is my job now.
I can make an adult feel better, and not any adult, my mom. I make her feel better. Oh, oof.
Did you always have a therapist or just since?
No. No, I got into, I figured out I learned what the term childhood trauma meant maybe 4 years ago. And then I've never looked back, and I now can understand, like I wouldn't even say panic attacks. I would say anger attacks. Fairly regularly. I was in a romantic relationship for 7 years with a guy that we loved each other a lot, but there were so many unhealthy things. He was Eeyore. My mom was like, Christina, I'm bipolar.
His tail would keep falling off.
He makes me depressed. Like he would be like, we had such great times and we loved each other so much, but that was a trauma bond, man. And that shit feels like fucking ecstasy or heroin. Like that's not.
So you're like, here's a person. So basically, like he was he mimicking your relationship with your mom in a
kind of. I mean, he was really depressed, but he was depressed over. He just had a shitty attitude. That was his depression, because he was depressed over things that he could change, but he did not change them. So that to me said, well, you have no desire to change. You just want to bitch. And a lot of people are like that, but I just I was so good at turning my mom happy that I was like, well, here
Mm.
was another project that I could have, and then this one I could have sex with. This is the best. And so we were really bonded. We were really connected. But and then I broke up with him and he attempted to sue Corinne and I. And it was so I'm like,
What?
you have no pride, man.
What?
You have no pride. But
Why?
like it all because he was a shitty loser. He was a shitty loser meaning when you get dumped, you feel like a like I've gotten dumped,
You're
it
like, what
sucks.
can I get back? Because I've
And also when
lost.
you victimize yourself and you're convinced that everyone's against you, then you're gonna do something stupid like sue your ex-girlfriend of 7 years who did nothing but fucking love you. Like
Wasn't he sort of a producer or like he sort of worked
yeah,
on
yeah,
Guys We Fucked?
well,
Yeah.
he did music for Guys We Fucked, and then when I broke up, he was like, "Oh, I want to keep working on this." And I was like, no, dude. Not even a little bit." He wouldn't give me the files. And I was like, this is my mine and Corinne's podcast. If you don't give me the files, I'm going to ruin your fucking life. I will ruin your life. I don't know how, because I'm a very nice person.
You
But
are.
boy, oh boy, he eventually gave me the files, but he put up
Oh,
a
he
fight
did.
because he's a prick. Like he's that, like all my guy friends were like, I want to punch him in the face. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's
It's
fine.
funny. It's
At the end of the day, he's got to live with himself, and that sucks. And I can
uh,
now think of him. When I think of him now, I know I just said all that terrible stuff about him because I think it's kind of funny that I dated someone like that for so long.
oh please. I've
But I
dated.
think about him and I go, oh, we had good times. We
Yeah.
had like some
You
good,
learned a lot.
sweet moments. So many learning
So
moments.
funny, like he wouldn't give you the files. I remember when I broke up with an no. No, he broke up with me. He broke up with me. But when I was, getting dumped, I remember he kept saying like, and we lived fucking 2 blocks away from each other at the time because
Oh no, that's not good.
I had moved from Williamsburg because he never came to visit
Oh, do I know who
Brooklyn.
this is?
Yes, you do. I had moved to
Oh,
Astoria to
one of the worst.
2 blocks away from this guy. And then when we broke up, he kept every couple of days he would find a new jacket that I had left at his apartment. Oh, you got to come over. I found another one of your jackets. I was like, are my jackets giving birth over there? Like, I didn't think I had that many. And then sometimes it would,
That's funny. That's
sometimes
a
there
good
would be a
bit.
jacket. Sometimes there wouldn't. And, oh, it was so
Oh,
hard.
he's
'Cause I
reeling
remember,
you in.
and then I was like, what the fuck? And then, the
It's easy to
next,
be confused because you're
yeah, it
not
was
looking,
confusing.
you never check in with yourself and go, is this what you want in a relationship? Or is this the kind of person you want to actually expel energy and go over his house and get a fucking jack? Is that really what he wants? No, he wants to see you. Do you want to give him that? No, not really. Like all that
Yeah.
reasoning was not available.
I think I would make him feel good. I think I was like
Of course
perking,
you were.
a
Of course
perking,
you were.
a
You were a
perker
light in his life. Yeah. You were a light in his shit life.
And then after we broke up, he married the very next girl he met, and they dated
That's
for
happened to
8
me.
months
Yeah.
and married.
And then,
And now
yeah.
they're divorced.
I heard that. I heard that recently.
Circle of
It's,
life.
but
I wish
hey,
them all the best. I really do. But
honestly, I do too. And I really do too. But it's like, hey, if you want better stories told about you, be a better fucking person. And I'd like to assume though, that all the people we're talking about if I gotta assume one, if I'm gonna pick one thing to assume, it's gonna be, I hope that you've worked on yourself because
mhm.
that's what quarantine will fucking make you sit with yourself and listen to your own thoughts. And sometimes that's the worst punishment. Because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, you got to go to bed, you got to sleep at night.
And you turned yours into a podcast, The Voices
In our
in Our
heads.
Heads.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it because you are is that you singing in the beginning, by
Yeah,
the
it
way?
is. Yeah.
That's really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're like, fuck you, I can make
I,
my own intro music.
well, no, I had a friend help me with it, but because I was like, I can't write a song, and he was like, yes, you can, and I was like, oh, okay, and then I did it, and I was like, oh shit, I can. Yeah, I ever since I discovered the childhood trauma stuff, I've gone on like a lot of just educating myself about neurobiology and the brain and why I act the way that I do and why other people act the way that they do. Cause I'm like,
Ooh.
what, are people willingly a prick? And it's like, no, they're not. They're trying. A lot of times people are addicted to the stress hormone. So if you know somebody, which we
Mm.
all do in our lives, who just keeps meeting people that treat them like crap or just gets jobs or is in situations or friendships where it's a lot of dramatic bullshit. And you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Or
They're
like they
addicted
pay
to the
their bills late all the time or
right.
something.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
but like, yeah. And they will it when they didn't really have to, like, cause if you're in a pandemic, you're fucking broke. You really have no choice. You have to be
Right.
okay with that.
That's one thing. Yeah.
But like a lot of people are addicted to the stress hormone and they live their whole life in fight or flight mode. So they're always on alert. So they're never calm. So once I figured that out, I'm so happy. I can't. I didn't know it was possible to be this happy on the planet. Like I'm so happy
Wow. This is
because
amazing.
and I'm doing I do deep dives on the voices in our heads into books that have like totally blew my mind away.
Yes, I love hearing about books. What books blew you
Well,
away?
you would love this one. You're probably fine now, but this one I I do a bit about this on stage where I'm like, when 8 separate people recommend the same self-help book to
Let
you,
me see if
and
I
you're
can
like,
guess. Is it called Codependency No More?
it's close. The title's a little bit more embarrassing, but that's around the theme of it. It's called Women Who Love Too Much.
Oh, I like that title.
I know I did too at first, and then you read it and you're like, oh, I gotta stop doing this shit.
But you know what, Christina? We're both water signs and we're both like
Yeah.
empaths, so you're kind of predisposed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Now that I know all that I know, I agree. But the 4 agreements changed my life. And I'm doing
Ooh.
this book. I read this book called Feeling Good by David Burns, who's a psychotherapist, and he cognitive behavioral therapist, and he wrote a newer edition called Feeling Great. And it's basically how you can. He has talked about how he has cured at these workshops a person's long-term depression and anxiety over an incident, for example. He will they can experience joy for the first time in their life if after he works with them, and he outlines exactly what questions he asks and exactly
Whoa.
what their answers are, and he puts it into this context that's really interesting, and he's a great writer. So that's the book I'm diving into now, about the cognitive distortions that everybody gets stuck in. All or nothing thinking. You're either the best kid in the world or you're the devil. Like my mom does that with me.
Hmm.
Catastrophizing. So I'm not talking to you right now. I'm such a bad mom. I should just kill myself.
I remember as a kid, I would always hear, "You're always doing the wrong thing." And that like
You would
really
hear that, literally that sentence?
Yes. Oh
That
yeah.
wasn't just like the takeaway that you gathered. That
No,
was
I would
the words you
that's
heard.
a quote. That would be like
Oh my
yeah, I think my mom would say that a lot. I think sometimes my grandma,
oh my God.
my dad would like spank me, but I'm like, "Oh, everyone's getting spanked." But now I don't.
Everyone was getting spanked, but that is
Yeah.
child abuse if you think about it.
And here's what I
A
have a
kid doesn't
problem.
do wrong things on purpose. We don't know that it's wrong. We're fucking kids. Don't
We
hit
probably
us.
just need attention. We probably just like need love.
Or need
Yeah.
understanding. Probably need a hug.
And when I hear the term childhood trauma, I think, well, okay, I wasn't raped. I wasn't
Everyone always is in denial about it, no matter
like
the severity.
to me, it's like, and maybe this is like the programming, like, oh, did I really suffer trauma? You're like, yeah, my dad threw a chair at me once, but he missed. He didn't hit me with it. I did grow up to be so afraid of him and probably other guys as a result, and authority figures, especially authority figures who are men, aka most bosses I've ever had, aka do whatever they say, never stick up for yourself, never ask for a raise.
Uh-huh.
But is that
Because it's
trauma per se?
yes, it is. Because a child is supposed to be loved, nurtured, and protected by their parents. And it's not normal. I had to sit with this idea for like a couple years. It's not normal for to see your parent throw a hammer at your sibling's face. I saw that. It's not normal.
Did
Apparently
he
that's not
hit
normal.
it?
No,
That's
he
how
ducked.
I justify. Did he hit him?
Exactly. That's
Did he
exactly
miss?
what I did. I'm like, yeah, he ducked. So he
A
didn't get hit.
fucking hammer?
Yeah. But you think about, I hear from ever since we started guys who fuck, people would tell us about their childhoods, and I'm like, oh, okay. I had it in heaven, apparently, because some people have got like their parents rape them, like sexually abuse them with a step parent, and then they deny it, and then you try to tell the cops, and they make fun of you and humiliate you. I mean, just
Oh my
anything that you
God.
could possibly think of that will ruin a child's soul, I've heard of, and like truly some stuff that you're like, my day is fucked because of it. Like it's but now I can understand it, and like you could tell me whatever happened to you, and nothing shocks me, but it's like, okay, well, that's what happened. And then you're pretty fucking well adjusted considering all that. My God. So, but I think upwards of 80% of the human population has experienced I've read so much about this, an adverse childhood experience, which means something traumatic. So a parent's getting a divorce or separating, a family member going to jail, extreme fighting, just
Mm,
constant fighting.
my
I didn't
parents fought a
realize that
lot.
your house is not supposed to, you're not supposed to hear screaming
Yeah,
all the time, like
that's
every single
normal.
day,
Whose kids don't
screaming.
hear their parents shrieking about money? Like,
Yeah. And I would
yeah.
cry and I would cry and I would be so upset that they were fighting. And then they would call me like, they would be like, oh, shut up. I'm like, I'm 5, bitch. Hug me. Like,
Uh,
and it's not, you're not a fucking pussy because you needed a hug. You were a child. You needed a hug because there's a study on that was morally questionable, not friendly to animals, because some of the animals ended up dying in the study, but they took baby monkeys and they had basically two, not cages, but two areas, two pens of two groups of baby monkeys. One group had a stuffed animal, a plushed mother. It would mimic the exact size of a mother, and the nipples had milk bottles in them, so they could get food from it. They could be hugged by it. That was really soft. And then the other pen of monkeys, they gave a wired, like metal mother who had milk bottles on the other side of her nipples, so they could still get the food they needed. So technically, they had what they needed to survive, which was food, substance. But they couldn't have touch with this
could they
wire monkey
smell?
because
I
it
guess
was,
they could smell
and
the
it hurt.
food
It hurt to
equally.
touch. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Those monkeys ended up dying. Those baby monkeys, even
Oh,
though they got the food they needed.
they got no
So
cuddles.
the point of that is, and when that's why in a baby ward you'll see sometimes the nurses, or they have volunteers that work there, I'm probably not with COVID, but that just hold the babies, like if or in an orphanage, like the baby needs to be held. If a baby isn't held, but you give it food, you change its diaper, water, or whatever, the baby will die.
Whoa.
So the baby's nervous system needs to feel safe. And all of the list of things that could happen to make a baby's nervous system not feel safe. Postpartum depression, which happens to
So
so many
common.
people, so common. Fighting, just there's just the list goes on. So it's like, okay, this is actually a really important thing that we're just fucking overlooking. Because I feel like our dads, like, they don't talk about how they feel.
Never. Oh, and now when like I'm on the phone with my dad, like I feel like I'm just his free therapist. Like he never asks me how I feel. He's always like, he
Oh,
asks me
damn.
about like, how is, am I making money? He always checks in about like finances and that's it. And like how my boyfriend is. He's never like how you feel, how does this make you feel? Because he doesn't
He
understand that
doesn't
language.
know. He doesn't know.
But it's
Yeah.
him venting to me. It's 40 minutes
Mm,
at least to an hour
yeah.
of him nonstop talking. And then I'm just naturally listening. And oh, how does that make you
Well,
feel?
especially like
You
if
know?
your mom passed away, like, so you're like, okay, now I need to be there for him. Who's
Hmm.
gonna be there for you though? And it's like
I better get a dog or something.
boundaries, boo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boundaries. That's cool.
They're terrifying though to
So,
set.
so the monkey thing taught you that, like, yeah, it's all about the snug
Nurture.
and
Yeah.
the cuddles.
And
Yeah.
being a loving and checking in emotionally on your kid. I'm like, my therapist is like, did your parents ever be like, Christina, how do you feel today? I'm like, do parents do that?
Yeah.
Do they ask their kid how they feel? Like
My
they just
dad,
ask their kid how they
I
feel?
would say that that's gay. Yeah.
Yeah. You queer. Yeah.
I remember when my mom she wasn't, it was like the spring. She died in the summer, late summer. She died on August 2nd. So this was like early spring. I remember I was trying so hard to get her to meet with a therapist just to like talk, just to like let her feelings out. And I remember
Yeah.
like I was so close. I had like set it up. I was like making calls and they had called her cell phone. And I think my dad, maybe because her motor skills were starting to go. She had brain cancer. And my dad just happened to like pick up her phone first or whatever, and then he's answering it and it's the fucking therapist calling her to like confirm or set up an appointment. It was something where I was like right there and my dad's listening. He goes, oh yeah, yeah, we're not doing that. Click, hangs up. And I was like, no, so
No.
close. And because it's like my
Ah.
dad hearing the word therapy or therapist, it's like does not compute. And
Ah.
I was like,
That
man, she could have
sucks.
used that. Like,
It's funny. This book, Feeling Great, that I'm doing the deep dive now, the podcast. He treats a lot of people who are dying of stage 4 cancer, and he breaks down their exact thoughts, Why are they upset? It's not the event, it's how you feel about the event. And even if the event is dying and you're definitely going to die, you are absolutely 100% going to die within a year. You still can find joy and happiness and peace. It's not that hard. You just have to
Wow.
change how you think about it. And he walks you through it and you're like, if I found out I was dying, I'd be a miserable prick. And then he's like, but think about that. And you're like, oh shit, that's a good ass point. Like it's wild. So that makes me so upset that your dad
Hmm.
did that. Oh,
Oh yeah.
that's a tough one.
It's really tough. And that's the thing is like anytime now a little thing will piss me off. Of course, it's not just that. It's backed by
Yeah.
years of, childhood and also how he treated my mom her last few months, like would not hire a full-time nurse even though she desperately needed it. He was like, I think he in his head thought, "Oh, I'm really going to be there for her now," because
Oh
maybe he
boy.
wasn't there during their marriage as much because he worked all the time. He's like trying to, I mean, he worked real hard. He was a landscaper and then got a Teamster job, gone
Damn.
14, 16 hours a day. But he was like, I know he thought now he's going to step it up and be the dude. But I'm like, you can't do that and also be openly resentful, like observably hostile, complain about having to carry her to the bathroom. And I'm like, Dad, you got to hire somebody. You're also a 70-something-year-old
And
man.
it's
Like,
his wife.
yeah,
That's a difficult thing to do for your wife, like your dying
yeah.
wife.
He had to be the one to do it. And then he fucking pulled his back out because he was carrying her
Oh,
to the bathroom, just like I said. And I didn't get to say I told you so. But because of this back injury, he wasn't able to come to the memorial that I made for mom. Like there was no funeral.
oh
My dad did
fuck.
nothing. Like my brother and sister were like, well, we don't want to do a wake. We don't want to remember mom that way. Same thing with her best friend that was down in Florida. And I was like, well, Dad, don't do a wake for just me and you. But then he just did nothing. And so I'm back in
Oh
there in
my
Florida.
God.
I'm in New York, and I was like, well, we got it. And that's where all my comedy, like producer and hosting skills came in. And
We
I was
can
like,
fly a friend
I was
in and
like,
then we could Skype
I
her sister
I
in.
very quickly realized, yeah, my sister's in Vegas, my brother's in North Carolina. I was like, but all her friends are in New York, where we're from. I was like, if I don't do this, nothing will happen. And so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
scheduling a thing. It was at Churchill's in Rockville Center where me and my sister both worked there. It was like one of our favorite sort of family restaurants or wherever. And like all the while, everybody in my family is saying, like my dad, brother, sister, no one's gonna, Julie's not gonna come out. She's in Binghamton. So-and-so's not gonna come out. She's 4 hours away. The cousins and uncles are not gonna come out. They live far away. But guess the fuck what? Everyone came out because my mom was a great lady and everybody, you need closure. You need to come out
You
because
need
my
to
dad,
celebrate her life.
yeah, this was in September. She died in August, but my dad didn't fucking come because of his back. And I wonder if that was bullshit because he wasn't
Well,
ready to face it or it really was
yeah,
his back.
possibly. He couldn't face the loss of it. I do think I have this theory because with the guys who fucked, I started thinking about this, and then just like with all the psychological stuff I know, men are like, especially our dads. It's your dad's in his 70s. My dad's in his late
Yeah.
60s, so kind of similar in age, and they're raised to believe that a man is a provider and that's it. And you can get angry, but you can't get sad. And you can get,
Hmm.
you can make money, but you can't like, and so you can't talk about your feelings. And so it's like
That sucks.
so his whole life he based his self-esteem, because when that's all you know, that's what you base your self-esteem in. When you base your self-esteem in a thing that you do, you're fucked. But that's people are like, how is that you're fucked? You can't, your self-esteem can't be based on like me being a baseball player, because that's gonna fucking, I'm
What
not
if
gonna be
you
a baseball player
what if you
forever.
threw
So
out your
I'm gonna
ACL
kill
or
myself when
something?
I'm
Yeah.
done. Exactly.
Yeah.
But so he provided and worked 17 hours a day, provide. And then your mom needed a nurse. He's like, well, I got it. And it's probably, he probably just was like, I'm the provider. That's what I do. I provide. So now I will physically provide for my wife and carry her. And then he got an injury and
Yeah,
then
but
he
I'd be
didn't.
like, you are sucking at it. Like that was a whole fight. That was another blowout a couple years back. Remember, my brother was there. Nobody stood up for me. Nobody had my back, which is fine. I'm used
That
to it.
sucks when family
But
gangs up on you,
it
man.
ended up with me screaming at my dad in the kitchen. My mom's there, like in a wheelchair. Everybody's listening, but I was like, you're not doing a good enough job. Like, you need to hire somebody." And like, oh, I wish my brother had been like, "Yeah, she's fucking right," but no one has any balls in my family but me. That's fine.
Well, I think it's about finding like, how do you say that and get to him?
I don't
How do you
know.
because
Yeah.
because what it seems like what your family's used to is like, "Fuck you, daddy. I told you pull your back out," or whatever it is, whatever the vernacular is and like how people talk. Like a lot of times my family yells. There's a lot of yelling.
Mm,
But it's like, "Dad, do you love your wife? She's dying. Don't you want her to get the help she like that. Like humanize, like force him. Like I know you're
right.
floating up here because all you think is that provide, provide, provide. But you're a human being with feelings, and this is your wife who you've had children with. She is dying. Let's look at the situation. Do you
Yeah.
really want to try and hurt yourself by taking care of her and giving her the care that's kind of half-ass?
And when I would try to say that, he'd be like, "Well, we don't want strangers in the house." I'm like, "No, dude,
That's an excuse.
you don't want strangers in the house."
He doesn't want anybody else providing for his wife. Like it might be. I don't know. That's a
Oh
theory.
yeah,
But
he was too
who
proud,
knows?
too stubborn,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, "Ah,
A lot
all
of
the way to the fucking
guys.
hospital," you know?
Yeah, that's like guys our dad's age. Oh God, it
It
breaks my
sucks
heart
though. I mean, I do
because they don't
like
have access to those tools.
yeah, I do like, but he's just so that's the thing is like, but then when he calls me and has a 40 to 1 hour long conversation of him venting, then I feel like, oh, what I'm not getting anything positive out of this relationship. Like he gets to vent and feel better, but he also gets to yell at me and not listen to me and not treat me like
That's why you got to put a
an
boundary up
adult.
and say, "Hey, if you want me in your life, it's a privilege, and I'm not gonna. I wouldn't have a friend that just calls me every day and bitches about themselves and then makes me feel bad, and then they don't even ask me how I am.
Hmm.
You're my dad, and I love you, but like this sucks."
Mm-hmm. It's like you can't be shocked. It's like our whole lives,
He's not.
mom
He
was the one
might
to
act
talk to
shocked
us.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I hate when they act shocked. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean? This has been happening since the dawn of time. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
It's
hate when they know it and they don't want to admit it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, and then he sent me this like half-assed text message when I was like back at the airport at Thanksgiving because when this happened, I like left. I was staying at my dad's house. I left and me and Frank got a hotel for the last night. And
that's good.
my sister was doing peacekeeper moves. She was like, "You guys got to get
Oh,
together. Let's
man.
meet for breakfast." And I was like, "Yeah, no." And she was doing that thing where she was the go
Ah,
between my dad and even though I was in Florida for almost another two-fold more days, me and Frank, like we went to the
you
zoo
enjoyed
and
each other.
just
Oh,
like
yeah.
and I was just like, yeah, it's gonna hurt too much to see him. And I feel like he's had no time to like, I don't know,
Just
have awareness or know what's
cry, be
yeah.
upset, yell, do whatever you grieve.
Ugh. I don't like yeah. So I'm talking about like the recent this past Thanksgiving was when I found out about the lawsuit, all that
Oh,
lying and
yeah.
drama and stuff. And then and I was like, how come? And I yelled at my dad. I was like, you didn't treat me well in there. You didn't like level with me. You weren't, none of you,
All right.
y'all were
Yeah. Stick it up for
honest.
yourself.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was so hard.
So hard. It's so hard.
And then me and Frank
Who does
start
it?
packing and I'm thinking we're probably gonna go. And he comes in, he's like, he sees us packing. He's like, nobody's kicking you out. I'm sorry that you're choosing to do
No.
this. He
Oh
said, I don't
boy.
take any responsibility for what's happening. And then I said,
Of
just like
course he's not.
always, and then we left and I'm
It's like
crying,
that's like family
sobbing,
greatest hits. Yeah.
getting an Uber. The Uber comes, the Uber's
Yeah.
trying to make fucking small talk. And I was like, you want
Fuck
to know
you,
how
not
my day
today.
is? You want to know how my day is? And I let it rip. And I'm just like, blah, 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 all the shit. And
You
he's
got to
like,
get it out
I was like,
somehow,
I'm going to
boo.
make him sorry. He asked me how my day was going.
Yeah.
I was like, and then Frank's like, wow, you really told him everything. I'm like, that's
Hey,
what
I have to
happened.
tell somebody.
I'm
Yeah.
like, he was fucking curious.
One thing that keeps me sane with all this shit, with all of that, like with all the family, like I think family stress is some of the greatest, most triggering, just highest electricity jolts through your body type of anger, stress, sadness, whatever. And with relationships too, like when you go through if you date a guy that's just you're like, he's a piece of shit. Well, the common denominator is you. So it's like you liked them, like I have to
Oh.
remind myself that. Like you liked him, Christina. So and this is because I've gotten into meditating lately and just I never grew up with a religion because my parents were they didn't give a shit. They weren't anti it, but they're like, I don't care. Just believe whatever you want. And I was like, okay, which was cool. I like that because then I got to learn about stuff from an unbiased perspective. And but the spirituality stuff I'm really getting into because I was like, that feels the most right. So whether it is or not, like this is what feels right. But from a spiritual sense, I've heard this echoed by two authors. I'm trying to think of which ones. and a woman that I did this like meditation healing shit with. She was like,
Mm.
we before we come to this planet, we and you could take I mean, everyone should take everything with a grain of salt. And when people are uber religious, I'm like, that's weird. I don't like it. So, if you don't like this, then tell me to go fuck myself. But um, you choose your parents before you get here to like learn a
I've
lesson.
heard that. That's
Okay, good.
I think
Okay, good.
that's
Because
cool as
I
fuck.
never know
Yeah.
who like is down with that spiritual stuff. Because I'm like, honestly, I'm not
I
trying to
believe
convince
it.
anybody because I don't
I
give a
believe it.
shit. But I really believe it. So I'm like but that particular thing made me not mad at my parents like in the way that I used to be.
You chose this, not that you're a victim of it. Like
Yeah, you're not a victim of it.
yeah.
Like they act like a victim. Our parents act like a victim.
Mm.
That's fine. But their parents probably act like a victim. Either way, it fucking sucked. I don't be treated. I don't want to stop. Just stop it. But you chose before you came here. You're like, these are the lessons I need to learn, and
Cool.
these are the people that are gonna teach me them. And so, for me, I'm like, I had to learn how to stand up for myself for the first time. And not in a way that was like,
Testify.
fuck you, die, you
Yeah.
pieces of shit. In
Mhm.
a way that was like, hey, if you're going to treat me like that, I'm not going to call you.
Ooh, yeah.
I got nothing else.
Because you have to realize your value and your worth to know that, like, just by taking away contact is a punishment. And it's like
It's not a punishment.
you're
It's a
being
gift
taken.
to you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you feel
Yeah.
like you're being taken for granted because it's like so many phone calls of him just venting, venting, venting. Glad he feels better. I feel worse. I now feel heavier and shittier. And we didn't get to talk about the things I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I told Corinne the other day, she was over when we were recording Guys We Fucked. I was like, oh, it's so weird. I haven't talked to my mom in like months. I feel bad. She's like, Christina, you've called your mom more times than any of us will ever call their parents. So fuck that shit. You've given them enough time on the phone. And I was like,
hmm.
thank you for saying that, Corinne. Okay, I needed to hear that. Because oh my God, you really feel like you feel like you're killing them. I told my therapist, I was like, I feel like I'm betraying my daughter.
Oh my God. See, that's because of the role reversal. Because you're used to taking care of her, and you're like, who's
Yeah.
gonna take care of her? She's
And I don't
only a
know.
grown ass woman, you know.
Yeah. And I don't know what it's like to have a kid, but like I kind of felt like I'm a bad parent. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm a
Isn't
kid.
that
I'm
funny?
not a
Yeah.
parent.
Isn't that
God
so
damn it.
funny? Right. And she's probably feeling, oh, I'm not getting my thing that I need. What's
Yeah.
wrong with her? But it's like time for your parents to learn how to make themselves happy, I guess. And
It's their
get their
job to figure their life out.
yeah,
It's our job to figure our life out. And if
it's
there's
yeah.
room for each other in each other's lives, that's so cool and great. But if there's not, I'd rather not talk to you than you be an asshole.
Right. And you can't when you're in a relationship, it's like it's got to be a net positive. And that's the thing when
Yeah.
it's your
Yeah, you're right.
family, when it's your family or a close like a
You-
friend for 15 years is kind of like a
Yeah.
family member. And then you're like
It is. It
you'll
is.
let that go. Like they're
Yeah.
exempt because they're family or
Because
a
you know them
longtime
for so long.
friend. Yeah.
And it's like, no, I can still have respect for my family, but I have respect for myself also. So that is not going to ever land me in a situation where I accept them treating me like poop.
It's so hard. And I like was so good. I can be so good at like accepting bad treatment because I just like
Mhm.
I go, oh well, I'm good at it. Like I all throughout my life, this is the thing I do. I suck it up. That's what I'm good
It's like a
at.
superpower.
Yeah,
And you're like,
yeah.
bitch, that's not a power. Use it on yourself. Make yourself feel good.
I'm a doormat with a cape. I'm a super doormat.
That's a great bit. You should use it on stage. That's
That's like a
great.
cartoon. Tell me about meditation because I've for years wanted to get into meditation. I have the $70 Calm app on my freaking iPhone. I'll turn it on and I'll listen to water sounds and go to sleep. That's the extent to which I am like I know deep down I'm intimidated by meditation. I'm scared to get deeper into it, but I've always been
Everyone
fascinated
is.
by it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always can feel when I'm spiritually bankrupt or like
Yeah.
spiritually starved. I can always feel that about myself because then I start thinking, oh, I got to get back to Reiki or yoga or read something or like, watch something.
Dip my toe back in. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
I think like meditating is like, oh, it's like going on a diet a lot of times. Like it's you don't want to do it all the time. But I made myself feel guilty for 2 years. The way I get myself to do things is I got to change that. But I was like, I want to be meditating every day. I know that that's what I need to do. I
hmm.
know that's what I need to do because I didn't even know what meditation was until recently. I'm like, okay. So, and then over quarantine, I just did it. I just started doing it every night. I do it, and
How
I
do you just
feel
start though?
I put on like I have Headspace and I have 10% Happier. Those are the apps I pay a membership monthly thing for those. I really like them. I do it every night. Sometimes I just I'll look up a shamanic drumming playlist or album on my Sonos, and I'll put that on. Just something relaxing that gets you into a trance. I'll light a candle and I'll just for 10 minutes I'll just imagine like a light coming in from the center of the earth and all
Ooh.
the good this is one of the meditations I do. I'm like, New York City is filled with some of the most brilliant minds on the planet at any given moment because of the density of the population. There's people being born, there's people dying, there's people writing their next Oscar-winning film, there's somebody photographing their, like there's somebody being murdered, there's somebody like just all the or whatever. But like just so much is happening. And I'm like, I think of all the good, exciting, good energy that I want to be a part of and why I love living here. And I think of it like coming up through the top of the Empire State Building into like a white ball, and then like I just do like a body scan, like it goes slowly down, and I feel
That's
like it.
great.
I feel a thing in. It's weird.
That's
It's wild.
cool.
The more you do it, the more you're like, is there actually a ball in me? This is weird. Like it's crazy. And then I really got nerdy on this author Joe Dispenza, who's a neurophysicist or neurobiologist. He has a lot of New York Times best-selling books, and because I always take, like I said, take everything with a grain of salt, because I'm like, is this some cult bullshit and you're really like a rapist?
I
Like,
love cult bullshit. I could be in a
yeah,
cult. If things went wrong, I'm
yeah,
very culty.
sure, for sure. I feel like there's culty shit everywhere. That's lovely, but yeah,
Astrology.
and
Yeah.
but he basically says he explains everything about what an atom is, what a neurotransmitter is, what's the white matter around your brain. Like he gives you a science lesson of all
Ooh.
this shit. And then he says that you can essentially trigger your genes to heal you, or most people are addicted to this. He's the one who said most people are addicted to the stress hormones. That so
Wow.
when you're stressed, you get a rush of these hormones excrete into your brain that, like, with the fight or flight, that and they feel like a reward, and you don't even understand that you're, in this loop, endless loop of dating somebody who hits you or something, because you're trying to feel alive, and the only way you could feel alive is when you're stressed. And so he said that, and I was like, oh fuck
Wow.
you, Joe Dispenza, that hurts. But and
Wow.
he basically says you can
Wow.
heal, you can signal your body to heal itself. You can
I believe that.
anti-aging, cancer, like everything. And he's
I
like,
believe that.
if you meditate, he talked about this one protein in the genes that for
It's
something has to
only income.
and I have to jerk off on your space.
And it has to come
Joe
from
Dispenza.
me. You
Yeah,
have to
Joe Dispenza's come on your
suck
face.
my dick, me, Joe Dispenza.
That's why when you're a woman, you're like, ah, God, I hope this guy isn't rapey. Like, please
You're
don't
like,
get me tooed. I really like what you say,
yeah,
but
as soon as you
really
tell me
fuck.
a certain protein, I start getting skeptical of you. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like, yeah, you could trigger a protein in your genes that's basically the best immune defense system your body can produce. It's better than any antibiotic and blah blah blah. And he's like,
Wow.
he does all these workshops all around the world, which I'm like, is that culty? Probably, but whatever. And he just makes people meditate twice. I think it was twice a day for 10 minutes. All you have to do is get yourself into an elevated emotional state for 10 minutes. So happiness, joy, gratitude, like anything that makes you feel really, really good. And they said they measured the participants after this 3-day workshop where they meditated a couple times a day with that in that elevated state. And the genes triggered that immune protein, or the immune system protein,
Mhm.
and it was increased by like 51%. He's a scientist, so
No.
he some of the stuff I kind of grasp. But the gist of it is you can cure yourself. I'm like, well, that's exciting.
Yeah, because the human body has amazing potential and the human body does want to heal itself, which is why like big
Yeah,
pharma and like the powers that be are obsessed with curing everything with a
with a
pill
band-aid,
instead
yeah.
of with food or mind body
Yeah.
connection.
And disease happens because when people are addicted to that stress hormone and your body has been living in fight or flight most of its life, and that's pretty common for a lot of people, you're going to shut down. Your genes will
Wow.
trigger illness and disease. That's how that happens. Like I'm like, "Oh,
Right, cuz
that's why everyone's fucking sick, cuz we're all pissed off and sad."
wow. And a lot of and I'm trying to like that's what I need to work on now is like more meditation because I think that I confuse feeling stress with being busy. And
Uh-huh.
it's the
And
same.
this is right.
It
It's an
might be
addiction.
it might be 3 tasks that I really have to do that day. But if I don't do them, it's like the stress of not doing it makes me feel like, oh, I have so much to do. I'm so busy. And it's like if you just sucked it up and said, I want to get one task done this
Yeah.
hour.
So funny. I was reading this before I jumped on this Zoom with you. There's this productivity planner I bought like a long time ago and never looked at it. And I was looking at it and they're like, yeah, start with the task that you don't want to do. And if you do that every day, and they're like, Andrew, that's how Andrew Carnegie became a billionaire. I'm like, oh shit, okay.
That's how Andrew Carnegie bought a building and made an immersive theater experience. Oh no, wait, that's what you want to do.
That is what I want to do. I'm gonna be forever 10. Yeah, I saw this immersive play and then she fell, and I saw it 6 times. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And so that's why I made my loft, the storage loft upstairs, when my ex moved out. I turned it into this. I put like vintage wallpaper on the walls, and I covered the ceiling with flower vines, and I got all these antique framed pictures, and I go up there and smoke weed and read poems.
It's like kooky anthropology. It's exactly what you're describing. Like good taste,
like pothead anthro,
but with like sass and fun.
Yeah. I do have to get out of here because
I have to go too. I have another one too.
This has been wonderful though, Chrissy.
This is so great. Oh my God, I miss you so much.
I miss you too. I miss hanging out. It was so good to see you at your birthday party.
Yes, thank you for coming to my very safe and socially distant birthday party.
Yeah.
I almost couldn't see you because you were 6+ feet away.
Yeah, we were all far away in our own little pods.
It was so great. Christina, where can people find you, follow you, support you?
Yeah, you can follow me. My social media is at Krystyna Hutch. It's Krystyna Hutch, Hutch. Website is KrystynaHutchinson.com.
I love it.
Voices in Our Heads is available everywhere. And then Guys Who Fucked, which is the big hit one, is available on the Luminary app.
On Luminary. And yes, watch her short film Dwell. I really wanted to cover it next time we can talk about it, but it's amazing. If you've ever gone through the raw grief associated after a breakup, like you will feel this.
And speaking of feelings, I'm doing this thing called Feel Your Feelings January. I did it last year and I really liked it. I smoke weed every single night. I'm gonna give up pot for as long as I can, like I don't know. Last year I didn't go the whole month, but I have this playlist of the saddest songs that will make you like gutturally sad, that are like beautifully sad.
Yeah.
Feel Your Feelings January is the title of the playlist on Spotify. But yeah, if you want to try not doing a substance or a thing or whatever for a month,
great.
We can all suffer together and it'll be funny.
I remember after my mom died, I listened to so much Sia. Sia is such good music to cry to, like Sia, sobbing in the shower.
I'm in here. Mm-hmm. Oh my God,
that's the best crying music. Woo!
That woman
is
so talented.
She's so good. I love it.
I love you. I love you. I miss you.
We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yes, please. Let's hang.
Yeah. Yes. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
I love her.